The Democrats just got exposed to everybody in America. It was basically a public trial on the Biden administration's failed open border policies. And Democrats couldn't even battle to keep the narrative on what was truly happening in America during those 4 years. Our Republican senators, they came armed with the data and the heartbreaking stories of victims aiming to expose what they call the grim reality behind the liberal lapdog media's false narratives.
The purpose of today's hearing is to examine the devastation that criminal aliens have caused in communities across the United States. In particular, we aim to show the American people how the realities on the ground are very different from the narrative peddled by the mainstream media.
Okay, so check it out. Chairman Cornyn came in, opened up, systematically deconstructing 3 core progressive arguments that he says are used to obscure the truth. I mean, first, the claim that illegal immigrants are not criminals?
At the moment an alien illegally enters the United States, they have committed a crime. America is a country of laws, and we expect anyone who wishes to come to our country to obey those laws.
How about that narrative that illegal aliens are denied due process?
Another false narrative peddled by the far left is that illegal aliens are not receiving due process when they are arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This naturally begs the question, what sort of process are these individuals actually due? The idea that somebody could break our laws, enter our country illegally, and then be entitled to all the rights and privileges of an American citizen is a little far-fetched, to be sure. By the time any alien has received an order of removal, they have had all the due process they are owed under the law.
How about that Democrat propaganda that ICE isn't targeting the most dangerous criminals? But the chairman presented the numbers as an indictment.
Another false narrative is that ICE is not targeting the worst of the worst criminals. But the fact of the matter is that as we speak, there are 291,141 criminal aliens in the United States.
But see, look, the numbers only tell part of the story. The true cost that Republicans argued is measured in lives lost. They brought forward the voices of those who have paid the ultimate price for what they call failed policies, the angel moms.
On July 27, 2022, I received the worst news that a parent can ever get, that my newly 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was found deceased with injuries consistent with a homicide. Walter Javier Martinez broke into Kayla's room while she was sleeping that morning. Kayla left a voicemail on her boyfriend's phone. According to the voicemail, a struggle was going on, and Kayla was heard crying, groaning, and struggling to breathe. Martinez was also heard on the voicemail hushing her and near the end telling her "I'm sorry" in Spanish while continuing strangling her with her phone cord. After she was deceased, Martinez tied her up and sexually assaulted her. This was confirmed by the annual swabs that matched Martinez's DNA. Kayla fought for her life that day. She had bruises up and down her arms, her fingers, the left side of her face, her back, and down her leg, and deep wounds to her neck from the cord. If Homeland Security and Health Human Services had checked Martinez's background, then they would have known that he was an MS-13 gang member, and my precious daughter Kayla would still be alive today.
Our beautiful day turned into a nightmare when 2 criminal illegal aliens decided to ambush us in an attempt to steal both 4-wheel drive trucks. The 2 illegals jumped out of the stolen vehicle they were driving, and without hesitation or a warning, they began shooting at us, without even asking us to hand over the keys. Do you know what it is like to see your son go down after being shot? Do you know what it is like to hear the gunshots, bullets whizzing past you? Do you know what it's like when your mind is trying to process everything, telling your grandchildren to duck, while thinking your son is on the ground with a bullet in his chest? Do you know what it's like to hear your son's last words to his father? "Keep shooting, Dad." Keep shooting were his last words. That should never have happened. Had our immigration laws been enforced, our son would be here. Barack Obama failed me, my family, and our community, and our nation.
See, these personal tragedies were also backed by testimony from the front lines of law enforcement who painted a picture of a border deliberately ceded to criminal organizations.
The border Biden policy has had the most significant negative impact on the safety and security of our communities in South Texas in my 31 years of law enforcement.
Think about that for a second. 31 years, that's a lot of years. That's a lot of data. I'm sure the Democrats don't want you to know about this stat, which happened under 4 years of the failed Biden administration.
As an example, in Goliad County at the Sheriff's Office prior to 2021, the Goliad County Sheriff's Office averaged 77 arrests per year. From January 2021 to date, we've averaged 413 arrests per year. That's a significant increase. I looked at our records and found no records of smuggling of humans cases or engaging in organized criminal activity cases prior to January of 2021 for our law enforcement agency. From 2021 to 2025, the Goliad County Sheriff's Office arrested 96 people for smuggling of humans and 126 for engaging in organized criminal activity. This was a slave trade issue. These people were brought here by the cartels because we ceded our authority of the border from the U.S. government to the cartels. We've dealt with a lot of different violence as a result of the Biden's open border policy.
Okay, that's wild. No records of smuggling of humans cases or engaging in organized criminal activity cases prior to January 2021. I want you to listen to this retired ICE agent about what he's saying.
What is happening today with our ICE officers and agents is unprecedented. The doxing of our men and women of ICE and accusing them of kidnapping when it's a lawful arrest or disappearing people simply must stop. They are upholding their oath and performing the scope of their duties. Vilifying officers because some people disagree with the enforcement of the law or because it contradicts their ideology is just not acceptable.
These Democrats, deranged that they are, making baseless accusations about our federal officers. They're just trying to protect Americans. That has to make Democrats pretty mad. Even faced with this powerful testimony, Democrats attempted to shift the focus from the tragic reality of these crimes caused by their poor Democrat leadership to the perceived injustices of the enforcement system. Crybaby Senator from California, Alex Padilla, argued that the Republican focus was misplaced.
If Donald Trump and Republicans were truly focused on just targeting violent criminals, Democrats would have no objections.
I just want you to think about that for a second. If superstar President Donald Trump's administration would only bend the laws for the poor little Democrats, we would all be good here. I mean, the Democrats are just putting Americans last right now. But let's be fair, the minority witnesses that the Democrats put on the stand as well, they followed suit. I'm convinced they're putting Americans last as well, arguing not against the need to stop crime, but against the methods of enforcement.
What we need is not broader enforcement, we need smarter enforcement. Enforcement that is targeted, lawful, transparent, and focused on protecting communities, not padding arrest statistics.
Some way, the Democrats got a retired police commander, which argued that tougher enforcement erodes the trust needed to police communities.
When the community have the perception that we're involved in immigration enforcement, they are not going to come forward and report crimes.
So the hearing then moved from testimony to a direct political indictment. Senator Ted Cruz, whose hometown of Houston has seen some of the most horrific crimes, accused the Democrats of a deliberate political strategy.
For 4 years under Joe Biden and the Democrats, this country witnessed an invasion at our southern border. It is an invasion that has no precedent in the history of our country. 12 million illegal immigrants were allowed to come into this country. And that was deliberate. It was not an accident. It was not negligence. It was a deliberate choice that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Alejandro Mayorkas and every Democrat senator and House member made. They looked at 12 million illegal immigrants and they saw what they believed would be future Democrat voters. And they were willing to allow Americans to be murdered, American women to be raped, American children to be brutalized by violent criminals day after day. In his first 71 days in office, President Biden released 184,241 illegal immigrants. That was a decision. By the way, it was a lawless decision. His first 71 days, Joe Biden averaged 2,600 releases per day. Let's compare that to the same 71-day period in 2025 under President Trump. Joe Biden, 184,241. Donald Trump, 9. Not 9,000, 9. That is a 99.995% reduction.
I mean, I can't even stress this enough right now. Don't forget about the gotaways under the Biden administration.
You look at gotaways. Under Joe Biden, over 3 million gotaways. Who are gotaways? They're the most concerning of all of the 12 million that came into this country, because gotaways are the illegal immigrants we know were here. We see signs of them. We see tracks. But they didn't turn themselves in. Gotaways are much, much more likely to be murderers, much more likely to be rapists, much more likely to be child molesters, much more likely to be gang members, much more likely to be terrorists. Under the Biden administration, CBP was instructed at the southern border, be on guard for Hamas and Hezbollah and Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists coming across the border. Why? Because they've declared jihad, and because the Biden open border policies extended a red carpet for anyone that sought to do harm.
Oh yeah, don't forget, Democrats don't care about us. They don't care about making historic security numbers at the border. They just care about spending time with MS-13 gang members.
Now, if you look at what the Trump administration has done, it didn't just slow the bleeding, turn it around. Daily border encounters down 93%, encounters with gotaways down 95%, illegal alien crossings down over 99%. These are historic, the biggest improvement in border security in the history of the United States of America. Yet not a single Democrat is here celebrating that. Not a single Democrat is saying, thank you that our families are safer. They don't want our families safer. The Democrats have decided instead to fly down to El Salvador and have margaritas with MS-13 gang members. Her murderers were in custody. The Democrats released them. Her murder was in custody. The Democrats released him. Rachel Marin was a mother of 5, raped and murdered by an illegal immigrant. The Democrats had in custody, and they released them over and over and over again.
So All-Star Senator Ted Cruz then recentered the hearing on the victims, turning the camera back to the families who lost everything.
Mrs. Vega, would you tell us about Javier, please?
I stop by the cemetery every day and I visit his grave. But I miss his voice. I miss him sending me flowers. I shouldn't be the one taking flowers to his grave. I shouldn't be the one fighting for all this. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop till my last breath.
Look, the Democrats had nothing good to say. They were scrambling. If Senator Padilla is the best person as the ranking member for the Democrats, here's his final plea.
We're here because Donald Trump is scapegoating immigrants. It's always been his outlet.
Yeah, I guess it's always superstar President Donald Trump's fault that he loves protecting America, while Senator Padilla seems to only care about illegals over Americans. It's the epitome of the Democrat Party, folks. This hearing exposed the Democrats because they had no real answers about what happened under the Biden administration. The open border policies were an absolute failure. It was really bad, ridiculous, and now they're trying to turn this whole narrative around nowadays that if you are an illegal immigrant, if you are undocumented, and you don't commit any crimes, oh, you're okay to be here, even though you are illegal. Now look, our nation suffered traumatic stress when those open border policies came in. There was a lot of violence, there was a lot of preventable crime, but they didn't want to prevent it at all. So now Americans are wondering what is going on with the Democrat Party, the progressive talking points of the politicians who are arguing with the Republicans that enabled these tragedies in the first place.
Last year, Joe Biden stood before Congress and said he could not secure the border unless Congress passed new legislation. And as President Trump pointed out, it turned out we didn't need new legislation, we just needed a new president.